Good morning, mathematicians. We are looking at our Wednesday questions, and we're starting off with some addition of decimals. Notice, boys and girls, I can plug in a zero there in order to give this value a partner. Keep it nice and aligned. Now I have 2 plus 0 is 2, 4 plus 5 is 9, 6 plus 2 is 8, 1 plus 3 is 4, and 3 plus nothing is 3. I must remember to bring my decimal down into my answer. And sure enough, that is my answer, 338 and 92 hundredths. Now let's come to our subtraction problem. 9 minus 4 gives me 5. 4 minus 2 gives me 2. 2 minus 6 I cannot do because remember, order matters in subtraction. If I have $2, I can't spend $6. So instead, I must borrow from the 7, make that a 6. Then remember, I give 10 to the 2. So that becomes a 12. Now I can subtract. 12 minus 6 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. And I must remember to bring down my decimal into my answer. So my answer is 5 and 625 thousandths. Okay, let's come to our next question. This one, I had to read a couple times in order to make sense of it. So remember, boys and girls, that's just what mathematicians do. Let's read through this problem. Indiana Bones spent 2/5 of his money on a bone and a collar. The collar cost 5 times as much as the bone. The collar cost $15. How much does Indiana Bones have left? Remember, boys and girls, read your problem multiple times. First, just for overall context. Then circle those numbers because this is math. Likely our numbers are going to be important. And it's very important in this question for sure. So first of all, in terms of how much money he spent, I know that he has this much money, right? This is a tape diagram. I'm going to use that to represent his spendings. He has 5 parts to spend, right? But he has already spent 2/5 of his money. Now we've got to figure out how much money did he spend? And with that, we'll be able to figure out this remaining part that he still has to spend, right? This is the part that he's already spent. The question tells us he has spent 2/5 of his money. Now, let's think a little bit about the bone and the collar. I'm going to use a B and a C to represent that. That's a variable to represent the bone and to represent the collar. Now, this tells me the cost of the collar. The collar is exactly $15. It tells me right here the collar costs $15. The sentence previous to that is where I can figure out how much the bone actually cost. This sentence is very important. The collar cost 5 times as much as the bone. So this is 5 times the cost of the bone. Well, the only number that I can plug in times 5 to equal 15 is 3. Because look, 3 times 5 equals 15. This is the collar's cost. This is the bone cost. And here is the times 5 that's mentioned in the problem. Because of this, I know that the bone, not $8, the bone cost $3. 3 plus 15 tells me that by the time we get here, he has spent $18. He has spent 2/5 of his money, which is $8. Because of that, I know that each of these parts is going to be half of $18. So this is going to be $9. This is going to be $9. Those two $9, the 2/5, that equals 18. But he still has the $9, the $9, the $9, and the 3 remaining fifths to spend. He has this much left to spend. 9 times 3 equals $27. Boys and girls, there are multiple ways that you can solve this problem, but certainly we should all arrive at this answer of 27. Let's come to our next question about the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef stretches for a distance of 2,301 and 287 hundredths kilograms, or kilometers, rather. A local travel guide says the Great Barrier Reef stretches for 2,301 and 3/10 kilometers. Which unit did they round to when estimating? Boys and girls, I'm going to identify that place value position because that is the place value position that they rounded to. Sure enough, when I look at that, I know that they rounded to the 10th place. That 3 is sitting in the 10th place. If I round to the nearest 10th in this question, look, that 8 certainly tells us that this is closer to 3/10 than to 2/10. That's how I know I get this answer when I round to the nearest 10th. Let's actually skip down to this question because this question is quite similar. Neil Armstrong said that his longest nail is about 483 9/10 centimeters long. If his nail is actually 483 and 862 thousandths centimeters long, which unit did he round to? So once again, I'm going to look at this 9 and I'm going to ask, well, what place value position is this 9 sitting in? Just like our previous question, it's sitting in the 10th place. So indeed, when I rounded this number to the tenths, this 6 told me that it was closer to 9/10 than 8/10. I rounded to the nearest tenths. Let's come to our last question because I skipped and now we're returning back. We're going to think a little bit about neighbor numbers and how they relate. A coin weighs 300 kilograms. A chest weighs 3 kilograms. How many times as much as the coin does the chest weigh? Well, this represents the chest. This represents the coin. This 3 has moved not one place value, but 2 place values to the left. Every movement of that place value represents 10 times greater. To go from 3/100 to 3/10 would be 10 times bigger. To go all the way to the ones place is 10 times 10, which is 100 times bigger. That is my answer to A. Now let's come to B. How many times as much as the chest does the coin weigh? Well, the coin is much smaller, right? The chest is 3 ones. If I moved that 3 to the tens place, it would be 1/10 the value. But I've moved it another place value. That represents 1/100th the value. Boys and girls, that finishes out our Wednesday